Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and participants. My name is Angelou, and I am a PhD candidate in the Italian language and literature in the Aristotle University of Thessaloniki. It is an honor to participate in this Congress, contributing to the dialogue with a topic that lies at the intersection of mental health, gender, and literature in the educational landscape. Mental health has become an increasingly important topic in our society. However, it is not fully integrated yet into the educational system, especially when it comes to women. Due to stigma and gender bias, depictions of mentally ill women have been a marginalized topic in education, often misunderstood and misrepresented. Literature serves as a key tool to explore this often overlooked aspect by integrating such narratives into educational practices. This aims to deconstruct stereotypes about women's mental health, reduce stigma and gender-based discrimination, promote diversity, and foster empathy in the classroom. This presentation will be structured around three key areas. First, a historical overview of the representation of women's mental health in literature. Secondly, we will explore some teaching strategies to incorporate these narratives into education. And thirdly, the power of literature to break stereotypes, promote diversity, and finally bring social change. To understand how to incorporate these topics into education, we must first look back and examine how women's mental health has been depicted through history, that is, its historical evolution. These depictions, spanning from antiquity to the present, reveal this evolving relationship between mental health, gender, and societal roles. In ancient Greece, women's mental health was frequently linked to their reproductive system. In the Hippocratic corpus, the concept of hysteria, originating from the Greek word hysteria for uterus, was attributed to the displacement of the uterus within the female body, which is known as the wandering womb, and causing various mental disturbances. Such ideas persisted into the Middle Ages, where mental disorders in women were often linked to sorcery, divine punishment, or demonic possession. Women who exhibited unconventional behavior of any type were often considered witches and burned at the stake. Works of the time, such as Malleus Maleficarum, described women as prone to demonic influences due to their weaker nature and lack of religious faith. Witches, even when recognized as mad, should not be excused, since their illness was seen as the work of the devil, to whom themselves have given opportunity to act. As stated in Malleus Maleficarum, the devil cannot in any way enter the mind of the body of a man, nor does he have the power to penetrate his thoughts, unless he has first stripped himself of all holy thoughts. Moving forward to the Renaissance, literary portrayals of women with mental illnesses became more nuanced, yet they remained deeply rooted in societal expectations of femininity. Characters such as Ophelia and Shakespeare's Hamlet epitomize the archetype of the suppressed and submissive woman, the perfect Elizabethan woman. When her father asks her to end her relationship with Hamlet, she replies, "I shall obey my lord." So her insanity seems the only way to rebel against the masculine oppression placed on her by the masculine triplet, father, brother, and lover. During the 19th century, in alignment with Darwin's theories, women were frequently depicted as passive, fragile figures, prone to madness by nature due to their biological weaknesses. Hysteria became the dominant diagnosis for any unacceptable behavior in women, while intellectual engagement was pathologized as a cause of female madness, even by the famous doctor of the time, Angelou. In Fosca, by Tarchetti, we meet the eponymous character, a woman whose emotional intensity and passion for studying are seen as not only a deviation from normative gender roles, but also as an illness and lead her to being labeled as hysterical. Even Fosca affirms dangers for our peace, for us women, for me. I believe that meditating on books is something extremely useless, indeed, extremely harmful. Or let's take, for instance, the image of the madwoman in the attic, popularized in works like Charlotte Bronte's Jane Eyre. The figure of the insane Bertha Mason, locked up in a room for 10 years by her husband, serves as a tragic reminder of the marginalization and the patriarchal oppression that shaped Victorian female lives. Every woman that deviates from that angelic ideal is seen as potentially dangerous and monstrous. When Rochester asks Jane to describe this woman, Bertha Mason, she replies, "Fearful and ghastly to me, oh sir. I never saw a face like it. It was a discolored face. It was a savage face. I wish I could forget the roll of her red eyes." These characters embodied the prejudice of a society that linked mental instability with the complexities of the Victorian gender roles. In the modern era, literary depictions began to shift forward the relationship between mental illness and the role of social and sexual oppression. For instance, in Charlotte Perkins Gilman's story The Yellow Wallpaper, we follow the narrator, confined to a room by her husband, under the guise of the common at the time rest cure for her temporary depression after the birth of their baby. Her insanity begins to unravel as she becomes obsessed with an alleged female creature hidden under the yellow wallpaper, a metaphor for the hopeless struggle to escape the constraints imposed on women, both physically and mentally. As she states, the faint figure behind seemed to shake the pattern, just as if she wanted to get out. I pulled and she shook. I shook and she pulled. And before morning we had peeled off yards of that paper. In the same sense, Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar illustrates the rigid societal norms confining women to predefined roles and labeling ambition as neurotic. Esther Greenwood struggles between the contradictory expectations imposed upon women in relation to sexuality, motherhood, academic and career aspirations. Her refusal to conform gradually leads her to suffocation and finally insanity. This conflict is encapsulated in one of the novel's most striking metaphors. Wherever I sat, I would be sitting under the same glass bell jar, stewing in my sour air, where of course the bell jar becomes a symbol of her entrapment under societal constraints. Similarly, Alda Marini's The Other Truth, The Diary of Another, offers a raw account of her experience inside a mental asylum, a micro-world that reproduces the same type of control and violence that exists in society more broadly against women. She says, "The asylum is most certainly a false institution, one of those that, having been created in the name of solidarity and of human understanding, have no other purpose than to satisfy men's sadistic instincts, and we were the innocent victims of these institutions." Through her memoir, she gives voice to the women condition in Italian society of the time and exposes this patriarchal oppression. She says, "I was a happy mother and wife, even if sometimes I would get tired and my mind would not function. I tried to speak about this with my husband, but he pretended not to understand, so my breakdown got worse. I lost my temper, and he thought it was a good idea to call an ambulance to take me to the asylum. At that time, the law was strict. In 1965, women were subject to men, and men could make decisions regarding their future. So, as we mentioned above, literature is a powerful way to introduce the topic of gender discrimination combined to mental illness into the classroom to challenge lingering biases. We can use several teaching strategies, such as textual and contextual analysis, using close readings and comparative analysis of key passages in order to compare how mental illness is depicted across different historical and cultural contexts, and how gender and societal expectations intersect with mental health. We can use character analysis and role-playing, where students can make connections between their own personal experiences and those expressed in the texts. Encouraging students to step into the shoes of literary characters through role-playing exercises fosters a deeper understanding of their struggles. We can also ask students to write short stories, poems, or diary entries from the perspective of a character to express their own thoughts and foster deeper empathy. Of course, we can use interdisciplinary approaches, that is, explore the texts in collaboration with psychology, sociology, or history teachers to provide a broader understanding of the context. And lastly, we can create a classroom environment where students feel safe to discuss sensitive topics and encourage respectful dialogue using inclusive and non-stigmatizing language. And finally, let's answer the question, why teach women's mental health through literature? As we know, literature mirrors society, and it is a powerful educational tool as it serves for, firstly, breaking down stereotypes. Characters like Esther Greenwood in The Bell Jar defy simplistic categorization of mad women. Their stories present mental illness as a response to oppressive systems instead of a personal failing, allowing students to eliminate false narrative on mental health. It also cultivates empathy and promotes diversity. By analyzing works like, for example, Marine is the Other Truth, students can better understand the experiences of women with mental health challenges, shaping greater acceptance of diversity. And finally, it encourages critical thinking. Narratives provide students with a safe space for exploration. By analyzing such works, students develop a critical understanding on how gender, mental illnesses, and societal norms often converge. As for the conclusion, we could say that integrating literature into the educational practice provides a platform for developing a more tolerant and humane society. Thank you for your attention. I look forward to your questions and insights.